good afternoon, good morning, good whatever time of day it is, wherever you are. Friday is here, the beer is poured, and the weekend is about to begin. Cheers. Oh, dear me. Yes, indeed. For those who are interested in such matters, Kronenbourg 1664. I'm not boycotting the Heineken. It's just I'm a sucker for a bargain, and if a beer that I have a particular liking for is on special offer, then I'm going to go with it. So there we go. It's the Kronenbourg. I hope you all had a fantastic week. It's been a busy one here, and I'll explain more as we go along. Busy in a good way, though. Busy in a good way. So let's scroll up through the chat and do the roll call, the register. See who we've got in and who, more importantly, was first. Johnny Random was first in this week. Well done, mate. You've been, if memory serves me rightly, you've been kind of close to being first for a few weeks. But I think this first time I can think of in recent weeks, correct me if I'm wrong, that you were the first one in. Anyway, after Johnny Random, we have Rent to Kill, Steve Hale, Dave Feenish, Rob Bald, Mark Kerno, Johnny H, Terry Day, PFY Guitars, Cylon Hybrid, John Ross, Peter Nicholson, Dr. Gomez 1, Farjon is in, so is Grandpa Joe. That's a little tip for you. If you want your message up on screen, make it a sort of a fairly longish one, because then it's easier for me to read up on screen. Hello, John and all, wishing a great and safe weekend to everyone. Having lunch and watching today's stream makes my day much better. Well, thank you very much, Joe. Thank you for... That's a very kind thing to say. Thank you so much. Ian Clark is there next. And then we've got Peter Borthwick saying hello, everyone from Costa del North, London. Hot and sticky here. It's been kind of overcast and misty here. We have some of those wind turbines just offshore from us. And I live about 200 yards from the sea. And the mist was so thick today that you just couldn't see the wind turbines, which, is a bit of a... So we often get that here. We often get the rest of the country can be, or just a few miles inland, can be quite warm and sunny and stuff. But, we often get just the mist coming in off the sea. Then, as I said, Ian Clark, Peter Borthwick, Ben Allmark, Calby and the Rocco Cat, Paul Trainer BSC, Amadeus, David James is in, Steve Entwistle, Anton is there, so is David Evans, Peter Collins, Sean House, Dennis Flock, and Michael Palmer. Then we've got Malcolm Spillett, has to go downstairs for a bit. Hope all's okay, mate. Then we've got Graham Reeves and Theme Tunes, and Malcolm Spillett's back again. 60s Man is there. So is Michael Belliveau. Malcolm Spillett asking a question. Can anyone tell me if Ibanez necks are different from others? Depends which Ibanez, really. When people talk about an Ibanez neck profile, often what they're meaning is that sort is what they call the wizard neck, which is the really kind of lollipop stick thin 80s shredding kind of neck, which isn't to my taste, but a lot of people like it. But that's not ubiquitous across all Ibanez guitars. Then we've got Jack Collins, and who else? We've got Savvy 64, and scrolling down, John Mack, Chris Otterwell, and John Channing is in. And who else we got? Let's have a look. Stratboy 999. Oh, excuse me. And Nancy Davis, and Adam San, the Time Prophet, and Stuart Young. They're all in. So is Thomas Mulvaney, DJ W, and answering a question there about the Ibanez Roadstars. I remember those. I seem to remember Gary Moore kind of being quite a fan of them back in the early 80s or thereabouts. We got Peter Shields, and then Jamal123, Alexis Mitchell, and who else is in? We got Mississippi Blues, and Timbo is in. So is that? I'm going to have to put this up on screen here. Chikishina, I hope that's the correct pronunciation. I apologise if I've just butchered it. Chaz Bradley, and I'm Not Creative. Nathan. Robert Gallagher is in, and what just happened to the chat there? It moved. Marvellous bloke. Stephen Sprosen, the Essex Cat. Watches and Guitars. Time Prophet is saying, have I got a new machine humming in the background? It's the fan. I'll turn it off. There we go. I've got noise suppression on here. Obviously wasn't suppressing it anywhere near enough. There's the Essex Cat. Did I say that already? Johnny Love is in. And then we've got John Wilde, Ian Stewart, Ian Geddes and Ian Quitton. All the Ians. And then we've got Adam San, Arvon Gaunt, and... Malcolm saying there's a version of this shirt that says oldie. Yes, I need one of those as well, don't I? And who else? We've got Steve Cassidy guitar. Nice to see you in, mate. Barry Hoon, Tony Priest, Steel Horse 75. And this is going on a bit, isn't it? We've got Jason Watson, Deco Dude, Jake Portis, Bill Mumbo, and Alonzo White. And we got Saji is in and wishing us all a happy weekend. And I think if I now just say Hod 8, I hope that's correct, mate. You're in the States, in Michigan anyway. That's, I think, pretty much us up to date. 147 of you joining me for a few beers at least this time on a Friday. I hope wherever you are, you're able to indulge and just have a sneaky one, even if it's not strictly clocking off time yet. Just a hip flask is always a good solution, I find. So, yes, a few things to talk about. Saturday videos. There are some... I don't normally do Saturday videos, but I've got a load of material to get through in the next few weeks. So the next few weeks, there's going to be videos Monday to Thursday. There's going to be the Friday live stream. There's going to be a Saturday and a Sunday video. I'm a busy lad. So why all these Saturday videos? Well, you can probably see behind me. Let's just move that way. Well, you can probably see the guitar box there. And you can probably see the guitar there. That isn't usual, a usual sight round this parish. Basically, it's no secret that there's some new Faisley guitars that have been launched, and the good chaps at Bax Music who own the Faisley brand have very kindly been sending out guitars to the likes of me and Johnny from Budget Guitar Show, and I think. Mr. Cassidy as well has had a few. So tomorrow is a mass unboxing video. You're going to see me unboxing 4 guitars and just giving a general kind of first impressions, what I think of these new Faisleys. And so that's Saturday's video. Then on Sunday, the full proper demo and review of that Patrick Eggle guitar that you saw me doing my first impressions of yesterday. That is Sunday's video. Monday, as usual, is a solo analysis video where, I'm not expecting this one to do particularly well, I must admit. It's not a video that I'm going to kind of think of as one of my triumphant ones that kind of bumps this month's ad revenue up, because it is a bit obscure, and it's but I just like the solo. I like the song, and it's the sort of peg that I'm hanging it on is that it's an ideal solo to learn if you're relatively new to playing lead guitar. It's simple but effective, and encompasses a lot of the kind of go-to skills that you need as a lead guitarist: bending, hammer-ons, pull-offs, that kind of stuff. So that's why I'm doing it. It's there's no way you'd guess what it is if I were to do the usual thing of giving all sorts of cryptic clues. So I'll just tell you straight out. It is the solo from a Roger Hodgson song. I think his first solo album that he did after quitting Supertramp was called In the Eye of the Storm, and the first track on that album is called Had a Dream (brackets Sleeping with the Enemy), and it's the solo from that, which I always just one of those solos that just sounds good, I think. But I'm hopefully I'll win a few new converts to that album, because it's a great album. If you haven't checked it out, then do so. It's called In the Eye of the Storm by Roger Hodgson. But I'm not expecting that video to be, stratospherically popular. But nevertheless, I thought I'd have a go anyway. Then on Tuesday, I've been having a few requests to do videos, kind of behind the scenes, making a video kind of thing. And well, I did one of those last year. Is it too soon to revisit the topic? I think it probably is, because I don't really think I've got much to add from like the video that I did about how I put a YouTube video together. But what we're talking about on Tuesday, as usual, it being a top 5 list, is just some things that I've learned. I like to think that I've got better at making videos through the experience of making them. And to be honest with you, I look at some of my earlier videos, and I think, yeah, it's a bit naff, isn't it? So basically anybody that's got a fledgling YouTube channel or thinking about doing YouTube videos, I'm not trying to come across as being the know-it-all guru. I'm just kind of giving you 5 tips that that I've sort of learned, things that seem to make sense about, when I do this, I tend to get more views, that kind of thing. So that's what Tuesday's video is about. It's about making YouTube videos. Then on Wednesday, viewers' question. That is the kind of thrust of things on a Wednesday. So I'll just say before I go any further that if you have any questions of a music or guitar related nature and you think I'm the bloke to answer them, then get in touch. You know my email address by now, jrguitartuition@gmail.com, or just use the contact form on my website. The link is in the description of all my YouTube videos, so go and find it there. Anyway, one chap who got in touch was asking if I could explain the difference between the different types of pickups. Like, what's the difference between a humbucker and a single coil? What's the difference between a single coil and a P90? What's the difference between all of those and a mini humbucker? So that is what Wednesday's video is all about. It's all about just kind of not just explaining the difference, but hopefully demonstrating the difference in sound as well between those different types of pickups. So that's Wednesday's video. Then on Thursday, it's not an unboxing video because the guitar wasn't in a box when it arrived here. A very kind student of mine, a lad called Steve, who actually comes to the house for lessons. He's got a guitar that he was keen to lend me, and I'll just give you a few clues. It's a bit special, and it's red, so you could call it something of a red special guitar. I wonder which one it is I'm talking about. So that is the Thursday video, and then after Thursday, we know what happens after Thursday. We get to Friday. When we do that, and let's have a look, see what's been going on in the chat while I've been having a lengthy kind of blethering session there. I see we've got Angel Martinez in. How are you, mate? And Stuart Young is saying the new Faisleys will be competing in the same price range as Ert and Sire. Be interesting to see. Sean House is saying jazz, John. Well, I did jazz last Wednesday. Northern Thrifter, welcome in, mate. Last week I traded my Epiphone 56 Les Paul for a vintage VS63. Didn't get on with the 56 neck and loving having an SG again. Nice for you. Good for you, mate. Is the VS63, is that the... Because I had, briefly, many years ago, I had the vintage VS6, which was just like the straight cherry red SG kind of copy. Is the VS63, is that the like the 3 pickup sort of custom one with what in white with gold hardware? I might be wrong. I think that's the one. Steel Horse, what you saying there, mate? Have you ever thought about making follow-up videos to all the questions you don't have time to answer during the live stream? Well, it's a good idea, actually. I hadn't thought of that. You know, I often say, like, if you want to ask me a question, I mean, by all means, put it in the chat. But, you know, I'm not Rick Beato. I don't have a whole army of, you know, Santa's little helpers kind of keeping an eye on the chat while I'm sat here kind of pontificating and blethering. So I'm aware that I do miss a lot of stuff in the chat. It's about finding that balance between kind of, you know, kind of reading the chat. I was trying to think of a clever word then, and I couldn't. Between keeping a close eye on the chat and, you know, being able to, you know, kind of, because if all I do is for an hour every Friday is sit and kind of read the comments in the chat, it's going to be a pretty boring live stream, isn't it? So let's have a look. Rob Bald is saying, any Revstar aficionados in the house? Yes, I did enjoy the basic model, and you know, it was a very close run thing actually between was I going to keep the Revstar, because I had I got an Epiphone standard 60s SG, then got the Revstar, and I had to kind of weigh up which of those two, excuse me, was going to leave the building. And it ended up being the Epiphone. And then I had the Revstar and I got the Les Paul Tribute. And the Revstar, the RSE, I think, the RSE 20, I think the basic one, was less than half the price of the Les Paul Tribute, and it was an equal to it in terms of it being a great guitar. The only I think what would have swung it for me and possibly made me keep the Revstar over the Les Paul Tribute was I just prefer guitars that have a natural wood finish, and the Revstar doesn't, and the Les Paul did. So not natural, but you know, we can see the wood grain. Sean House is saying, have you ever bought a guitar specifically for a job in a band and regretted it? No, but I have bought an amp specifically for a job in a band and regretted it. I'm going to kind of change a few names and, well, basically just not name names here. But back in about 2008, I didn't have an amp. I hadn't really gigged much in the intervening from about the late 90s to about 2008. I'd done the odd kind of dep gig and stuff, but nothing, you know, where I could plug into, you know, kind of borrowed gear. But in 2008, I joined a band, or I was one of the kind of founding fathers of this particular band. And all of the musicians in this band were all, you know, kind of working semi-pro musicians in other bands, and they were, for various reasons, they weren't happy with, you know, their lot in these other bands. So, you know, and I knew them all, and so an idea was floated that we form a band. And I thought, right, I'm going to need an amp. So I bought a PV Bandit, you know, good, solid, workhorse, reliable amp. And it became clear after about 3 or 4 rehearsals that this band was just never going to kind of go anywhere. You know, a kind of typical pub rock covers band, and the same old thing. I could see it happening. Rehearsal after rehearsal after rehearsal. Where nobody's learned the parts, nobody's kind of prepared, nobody, or even worse, they've learned it wrong. I thought, I've bought this amp now, so I've got to try and make this work. I've got to, but we plodded on for about 6 months and had about 5 songs that were sort of semi gig ready, and I thought, this is just never going to go anywhere. So I regretted buying that amp, because if I hadn't, I think I'd have quit after about 3 practices. Let's have a look. Deco Dude is saying, have you had a manager that got you loads of gear? I wish, mate. Never had a manager. I've worked through, it's not the same thing, but I have worked through various, agencies, because when you're playing on what in this part of the world is called the club circuit, you basically, those venues only book their acts through agents, so you've got to work through an agent to get those gigs. But never had a manager. Never really kind of felt like I needed one, really. Yeah, Peter Collins, so frustrating when you have band members who won't learn songs properly. It is, I'll be honest with you, the thing. There are a number of factors that have basically meant that I've effectively retired from doing live work. I've got a comfortable little niche that I'm in now that you might say is stuck in a rut. I prefer to think of it as a comfortable niche. But, there are a number of factors that have led me to kind of thinking, yeah, that's it, I'm done gigging. But by far and away, the biggest one was just this thing of people turning up unprepared, people turning up, just not learning the parts, or learning them wrong, or not turning up even. It just became a bit of a grind. So I thought, that's it. I can make a living out of sitting and playing the guitar all day. That in itself is a dream come true. Why do I need to, go and kind of sour that experience by, kind of getting frustrated with other band members who aren't doing their jobs? Peter Shields, I'm applauding that last pint pour, John. Yeah, the 1664 does pour nice, it has to be said. Let's have a look, see what else has been going on in the chat. One thing I will say is that, this little community that we've got going here is something that I do feel a little bit of pride for. I notice as I'm scrolling through the chat that there are as many conversations going on between you chaps and chapesses, if there are any, in the chat, as there are between you guys and me. I just think that's a really nice kind of thing. It's bringing people together, and I've said it before, but you look at the I'm looking on screen now at the viewing figures. 178 people currently watching this stream and or taking part in this stream, I should say. There are much bigger channels than me that do live streams that get like 40 or 50 concurrent viewers, and that's all testament to you chaps. Thank you for making this the success that it is. I see we've got a super chat there. Let's have a look. Alonzo White, let's put you up on screen, mate. Love your live streams, free flowing and chilled. Thanks for all that you do. Well, thank you for saying so, mate. It is it's a pleasure to do this, and I'm the luckiest bloke alive. You know, I get to sit in, you know, I mean, probably too much information, but apart from one pair of black trousers that I wear for, you know, kind of weddings, funerals, and occasions like that, you know, I don't own a pair of trousers that aren't kind of jogging bottoms, you know, kind of tracksuit bottoms, tracky bottoms, whatever you want to call them. Sweatpants, I believe, is the American term for them. I don't own a pair of, apart from me kind of pair of black trousers that come out the wardrobe about once a year. I live in kind of leisure gear. And, you know, I'm sat here in my carpet slippers at the moment. And I'm, you know, drinking beer. And this counts as work because the live stream is monetized and it earns me money. You know, this, I mean, if that's not living the dream, what is? And it's all thanks to you, chaps. Thank you so much. Let's have a look, see what else we've got. Timbo is saying, John, I take it you didn't know the other members. Our band have all been mates and played in various bands together. It's like a family. Not at all, love it. I knew one of the other members already, and you know, the thing that he was complaining about in the band that he was in was that the other members of the band weren't learning the material. And then I get into a band with him, and he's one of the worst culprits for that. So, you know, read into that what you will. Kevin Harty is saying, is it Kevin? Yeah, Kevin Harty. Do you like Guinness, John? Been watching the YouTube Guinness Guru lately. Dara Curran. As a Guinness lover, it's excellent viewing. I like Guinness. It doesn't like me. It's not a. It has consequences the next day, shall we say? And Joel Camp is asking, best concerts you've been to. Probably, and how predictable is this? I'll give you two. I'll give you two concerts that I absolutely you know, that stick in my memory. One was like a big gig, and the other one was like just in a pub, basically. Let's get the big one out of the way first. I'm sorry if this is predictable, but it was Gary Moore at the Newcastle City Hall on the Still Got the Blues tour. There was a man who was clearly loving what he was doing. Because as I understand it, he made that Still Got the Blues album out of his own pocket. It wasn't something that the record company were interested in financing. They wanted another kind of 80s hair metal pop bubblegum kind of rock album like After the War, which, you know, probably a little bit unfair to say that about it, but it you know, it was a little bit in that vein. But he, you know, he kind of dug his heels in and made a blues album, and you know, and it was probably the biggest album of his career. At which point the record company kind of rapidly got back on board again. But yeah, you could tell on that tour that he was just having the time of his life. You know, he had Don Airey on keyboards, Andy Pyle on bass. I can't remember who the drummer was. I know Brian Downey did a lot of the drums on the Still Got the Blues album, but I don't think it was Brian Downey on tour with him. So I can't remember who the drummer was. But what a fantastic gig. You know, he just didn't want to stop playing. You know, and the crowning part of that was he did a couple of encores. He did a version of The Loner, and then came out and did a second encore of The Messiah Will Come Again. And just what a fantastic, fantastic gig that was. Lives in my memory forever. And then the small gig that I went to was aficionados of the Teesside music scene will know of a venue, the Station at Stokesley, little pub with you know, basically it's a pub. It's, you know, I don't know how many people it holds, but it's the size of an average pub. You know, no stage, just like a little corner where the band sets up and plays. And it was a gig featuring a well-known bass player in these parts, a guy called Colin Hodgkinson. Anybody ever Anybody remember him? David Evans, John, you see my previous message. I didn't, mate, but I'll scroll up and see it once I've finished this little anecdote. Colin Hodgkinson, it was just him on bass and a German guitar player called Frank Dietz. And it was just one of the most electrifying gigs I think I've ever been to, like literally kind of this close to the action. And Colin Hodgkinson, left-handed bass player, what a player. Just, I mean, imagine Mark King, John Entwistle and Stanley Clarke all rolled into one. And then double that. That's Colin. What a fantastic bass player. And the guitar player, Frank Dietz, was just incredible as well. Anyway, let's go and see what this message is from David Evans. Let's have a look. Scrolling up. David Evans. For me, worse than not learning parts is the other guitarist whose solo is awful and arguing the toss. It's in key with his theory. I don't care about theory, Jason. It sounds crap. Yeah. Well, the worst thing I've heard like that is a guitar player who was in a band that I used to go and see. They used to do this song, and I can't remember what it was, but I remember it was a song where there was on the original version there was a sax solo. And the guitar player used to kind of just play wrong notes, just like, and his excuse was, well, yeah, but, when you kind of get it off the sax and put it onto the guitar, things like that can happen. Things get lost in translation. No, mate, you just played the wrong notes. Those of you who are my very, very generous Patreon supporters will know that this current month, the Patreon lesson is on a sax solo transposed onto the guitar. Well, if you're not a Patreon supporter, and you're curious what that's about, well, you know what to do. It's only £3 a month. Joel Camp is saying, wasn't Colin briefly in Whitesnake? I think he was, mate. Yes, I forgot about that. Kevin Hart, you're saying, love Gary Moore, but fellow Belfast man, Kevin McBridge, I think you mean Kevin McBride, isn't it, is possibly even better. He's playing with Deep Purple at present. Unbelievably good. Yeah, he is a good guitar player, and whether he's better than Gary or not, I mean, that's all kind of subjective, isn't it? Is Raspberry Jam better than Strawberry Jam? Well, it depends on whether you like Raspberry Jam or Strawberry Jam, doesn't it? But, he had big shoes to fill, though, didn't he? Stepping into Steve Morse's shoes. And I do hear whispers that Deep Purple are currently working on new material. So which I thought that with the departure of Steve Morse, it might have been a natural time for the guys to hang up their hats and call it a day, but no. Apparently there is new Deep Purple material in the pipeline. What you saying there on road again? Great jazz guitar lesson this week, John. Really nice playing. Are you planning on doing chord melody arrangements too? That would be sweet. I have a student actually where that's all we do. We take. What have we done? We've done Misty, we've done Georgia on My Mind, we've done My Funny Valentine, we've done a bunch of old standards like that. And what I do in the lesson is I sit down with the MP3 of the song, figure out the chord sequence, figure out the melody, then figure out a way of putting the two together on the guitar, and then tab it out for him. The only problem is that I never ever get, because I'll do like maybe 8 or 16 bars per lesson, and then we work through it until the song is done. But I don't do not have the time to sit and learn and practice and memorize and remember the arrangements that I'm coming up with. But maybe I should do one of those. That's an idea. Obviously, we've got the jam debate going on in here: strawberry versus raspberry, and Sean House is going blackcurrant. Yes, I got to tell you, I'm a marmalade. I'm more marmalade for me. The only time I like jam is with peanut butter, and that's something that my Canadian lovely wife has introduced me to: the joys of peanut butter and jam, or jelly, as she calls it. And what we call jelly, they call Jello. It's strange how that language barrier exists down the middle of the Atlantic, isn't it? But yes, I am more of a marmalade kind of person, and if it's marmalade, it's got to be the proper good old rough, thick cut orange marmalade, that you kind of lay on with a trowel. Oh yes, not exactly good for you, but it doesn't matter, does it? Let's have a look. John Mack is saying, did some people turn up for band practice drunk? That has happened. That has happened. I've had one experience where the bass player in a band I was in, this will be going back 30 years to about 93. Yeah, literally 30 years. God, you get to a certain time in your life when you can just kind of trip off, 30 years ago, and it feels quite recent, it does for me anyway. And when you were a kid, you'd hear adults talking like that, and you think, "My God, how old are you?" But yeah, I'm there now. But yeah, there was a bass player in the band I was in. He'd been at basically some kind of reunion with family reunion with his family and everything all day, and the beer had been flowing and everything, and he turned up for the gig thinking, I'll be okay, I know the material. Yeah, it didn't really work out particularly well. So let's have a look. See what we got. Sean House likes a nice marmalade. Not sure whether I prefer Chet Baker or Elvis Costello version of Funny Valentine. Both great. Yeah. No, Elvis Costello, he's a guy who continually surprises you, doesn't he? I mean, think back to the late 70s. Who would have predicted that, his next project was going to be an album full of country standards? And he did a fantastic job of. He's one of those musicians that whatever genre he gets into, and decides to dabble in it. You think, you get the impression that this could be something he's done all his life. And same with his version of My Funny Valentine. I do really like his version of it. My favorite version of the song, I can't really say. I've heard that many versions of it. I do like Frank. I must admit, I do like Frank Sinatra doing that. I am. Is this a guilty pleasure? I am a Frank Sinatra fan. Just this afternoon, after I'd walked the dog, what I do on a Friday afternoon is I walk the dog 2:00. Usually get back about 3, set the live stream up, and then I sit and chill for a couple of hours before I do the live stream. And I was just reading a book, and I had some Frank Sinatra on. And yeah, make of that what you will. I'm not creative saying, I think there should be an obligatory Dougal shot on the live streams. Yes, he made. Oh, sorry, mate, I clicked on that by accident. He made an appearance last week, didn't he? When he'd pinched the wife's slipper. Yes, he's currently downstairs. Those of you who saw my post in the community section earlier will know what he's up to. He's currently on his back on the sofa with all 4 feet in the air, because he's been working so hard. Actually, he has. There's been a fly in the house today, and he's been chasing that fly like you would not believe. And it's, I think it's really, kind of taking it out of him a bit, So it's actually quite good when you get a fly in the house because it keeps the dog entertained. Let's have a look. Michael Purcell is saying, have you heard Mark Tremonti singing Funk Sinatra? I haven't. Yeah, Jay Aoyong, top 5 guilty pleasures video. I did one of those a while ago, actually, but I think it's been long enough that I could probably revisit that. That's what was in the first one. Here's me kind of airing my dirty laundry in public. Those songs that intellectually, that up here are just ridiculously cheesy and have pretty much no merit to them, and but you can't help loving them. Well, one of those for me is Peter Sarsted, Where Do You Go to My Lovely? I'm sorry, but I just love that song. Another one for me would be no, this is going back a bit. Summertime City by Mike Batt, which for those of you who from the UK who were old enough to remember was the theme tune to Seaside Special, a highlight, sort of like the Ant and Dec of 70s Saturday night TV. Derek Sumner. Hi, John. Have you lost your pee out of your whistle? There you go, mate. Yes, very droll. Let's have a look. Pet vids do well, says Deco Dude. Yes, I might do another video where I'm kind of walking around the town a little bit. I did one of those a while ago and said I might do another one. That would have been probably in about 2020. I did that video where I was walking the previous hound, Taylor, our lovely old border collie who sadly is no longer with us. Let's have a look. Malcolm Spillett, yes. Was that what he was known as? Anyway, let's have a look. Theme tunes. My guiltiest secret is Disco Duck, the only track from Saturday Night Fever film left off the soundtrack album. Still went to #1 in the Billboard 100. I don't know that one, actually. Timbo is saying, Mike Batt, did he do the Wombles? Yes, indeed, he did. And another guy who was in the Wombles as well was Chris Spedding, the bloke who was a bit of a mentor to Steve Jones out the Sex Pistols. There's a documentary, one of those classic albums documentaries you might have seen, where they're talking about the Sex Pistols album, Nevermind the Bollocks. And, Steve Jones expressing his admiration in that video for, Chris Spedding, the guy who played guitar in the Wombles. To be fair, Chris Spedding was like a well-seasoned session musician of that era. He had his own hit, didn't he? He had that one-hit wonder, Motorbiking, which that's got a bit of something about it, hasn't it? Let's have a look. The fly is exhausted from being chased. Yes, yes. Either that. I haven't seen the fly, so maybe Dougal got lucky, and the fly came to a sticky end. But something tells me that Dougal, bless him, is never going to catch a fly. I think it might have just moved on to pastures new. What about David Bowie's The Laughing Gnome? Yeah, well, I mean, fair enough. I remember that on Top of the Pops when I was like really, really young, kind of, because what year will that have been? It was very early 70s, wasn't it? I remember kind of singing along to it as a very young child, but I can't say I've heard it much since. Kevin Hart is saying, see the Fusion T over your right shoulder, John. No, you can't. If you're referring to that guitar there, that is an Ert guitar. Let's have a look at it. Very similar to a Fusion T, but as you can see, it's an Ert guitar. And maybe the other one that you might have been, sorry, you can't hear me, can you? Maybe the other one that you might have been referring to was this one, which is one of the Faisleys that you're going to see me unboxing tomorrow. So there is a Fusion T in here, but it's out of shot and you can't see it. And, you know, it's going to stay that way until I do the big reveal of that guitar, which I think the unboxing of that is, when is that? September sometime, I forget. Oh, now you're talking, Peter Shields. See My Baby Jive by Roy Wood and Wizard was a favourite of mine as a young lad. Yeah. I seem to remember Wizard having a string of hits back in the early to mid 70s. And the only three that I can honestly remember now are See My Baby Jive, Angel Fingers, which I think I prefer, and the obvious one, the Christmas one. So, yeah. Anyway, let's have a look, see what's going on. Jay Aoyong is saying, "What's a Fusion T?" It's a Harley Benton guitar, one of their kind of more upmarket models, if that's not a contradiction in terms. Oh, Ian Clark, what a genius idea. One hit wonders. There will definitely be a top 5 Tuesday on that coming up. And whatever happened to Shiwaddy Waddy? I think they're still going in one shape or another. Much slimmed down now. You know, and with, I think, Romeo Challenger, because, you know, the thing about Shiwaddy Waddy was that they were actually two bands from Leicester that actually kind of merged to form one big band, which is why they had two drummers. And you know, and you know, it was that's why there was, when you saw them kind of any live footage of them or on Top of the Pops or whatever, which isn't strictly live, but it was always like kind of half of them were playing instruments and half of them were doing the sort of teddy boy dancing, you know. But Romeo Challenger, the drummer, I think he's the only original member now, and there's been various kind of splinter groups over the years, but there is still a version of them going. And I believe last time I checked, because you know what you do, you know, you kind of Google stuff just out of idle curiosity every now and again. Last time I checked, Dave Bartram, the original singer, is now he's no longer singing with them, but he is managing them. So so as far as I know, last time I checked, which is a little while ago, I will admit, they were still you know, kind of working. One thing I will tell you is that, again, going back to my days doing the club circuit in the northeast of England, you encounter a peculiar breed of person. The social club or working men's club concert chairman or concert secretary, they're a funny breed. They really are. But anyway, I was talking to one of these chaps once, and unusually, you know, quite personable, which they can often be a little bit towards the obnoxious end of the spectrum, but this one wasn't. And he was showing us a list of bands that he was thinking of booking for a 70s night that they were going to do, and Shiwaddy Waddy were one of them. And this list that he had printed out was the money that they were charging in, let's say, 1993, 30 years ago. Shawaddy Waddy were going out for about 1,200 quid a night. So they were still, and that, like 30 years ago, that was, and that was a lot of money back in those days. God, I sound like me, more and more like me dad every day. But so they were obviously still doing well. I mean, all right, that was a long time ago, but it was also a long time after their heyday on Top of the Pops and having hit singles and stuff. So who knows what they're going out for these days? I doubt their fee has kept pace with inflation, but they were doing pretty well, kind of then. So why not continue that? Stuart Young now, there's a blast from the past. One hit wonder, the Kersal Flyers. Little does she know. Yes, indeed. From I don't know if my timeline is accurate here. It might be well off, but for some reason that song, whenever I think of it or whenever I hear it, and I have got it on a Spotify playlist, produced by Mike Batt, by the way. We were talking about him earlier. That song always takes me back to that long, hot summer of 76. It's probably kind of completely inaccurate. Probably the song didn't come out until 77, or it was out, before that or whatever. But for me, the two are inextricably linked. It's just such a summery kind of song. Anyway, excuse me, chaps. I just need to just get a little bit more lubricated. Talk amongst yourselves, which you do anyway. Let's see if we can get a flake on this one. Here we go. How's it going? Yeah, as I say, this 1664 does pour pretty well. Unlike some other beers, Madry is a nightmare to get poured. But that's not bad. A little bit flaky, but we can live with that. Steve Cassidy guitar. Wedding band I've been playing with has been the same fee for almost 10 years. Apparently musicians don't deserve any more pay with inflation. Yeah, tell me about it, mate. And, that video that you did, Steve, where you're kind of showing your gigging rig and there's, there's clips of you guys in action. Coconut Groove, is it you called, I believe? That is a fantastic video. If you're not following Steve's channel, then go and check him out. There's some really good stuff up there. Let's have a look. Flakish, yes. In the year 2525 by Zager and Evans was the biggest selling one-hit wonder for some time. I didn't know that. I remember the song years and years and years since I've heard that. Let's have a look. What are you saying there, Tony? I once wrote some booking agent software who booked the Newcastle Arena, and I saw the list for things like Christmas Mayfair and Shawaddy Waddy and Foxy were the top paid acts. Well, fair enough. And DJW, what we're saying here, played in a soul covers band in the early 90s in and around the North Lancashire area. We rehearsed and played in working men's clubs. Phoenix Nights was spot on. Oh, yes, wasn't it? For our international viewers, Phoenix Nights was a sitcom produced by a comedy genius that we have in the UK called Peter Kay, and it's set in this place called the Phoenix Club, which is a typical north of England social club, and it's so recognisable, and that's what makes it funny. The people, the attitudes, the audiences. Just absolutely fantastic. There's bound to be clips of it on YouTube, so go and check it out. Phoenix Nights. Brian Wells, what you saying, mate? Like the ugly headstock review, I think the ugliest headstocks are the ones that are missing. Can't get away with headless guitars. I did try to love a headless guitar. I had the headless guitar. And it was just a step too far for me, really. I absolutely loved the neck, but I didn't like the pickups. The pickups, try an Earth guitar. I implore you to try them. The necks on them are just sublime. You know, you're talking the kind of neck that you would expect to find on a guitar that cost $4,000. It's that good. But the pickups are pretty much, I thought, unusable. Dark, muddy, horrible, muffled sounding things. So I changed the pickups on it, but still I couldn't get away with the headless thing. But I noticed someone else on the headless guitar, on the Headstock video rather, mentioned the reverse headstocks. Funnily enough, I don't have a problem with those. There is a practicality to them. It's not just all for show. On a let's grab a guitar. What can I get? Let's grab me telly. Here we go. On any kind of 6-in-line guitar like this, where you've got the high E string here, the tuning peg here, that means that the string with the most tension in it, because it's the longest string, is, you know, the one that you want to do probably most of your bending on. I had like a Cabronita style telly, a Harley Benton one with a reverse headstock, where basically that puts the high E string as the shortest string, and I will say that it definitely made a difference to the ease of bending on the top E string. Whether that was just that particular guitar, I don't know, but it did seem to make sense to me that makes, you know, you shorten the length of the high E string, it reduces the tension in the string, makes it easy to bend. Let's have a look. Yeah, lots of love there for Peter Kay and Phoenix Knights. What you're saying there, Jay Hull? I'm looking to join a band, but none of my friends play an instrument. Any tips for getting into one? It's never been easier these days, you know, because we have this thing called social media, and there are bound to be musicians groups on Facebook. I wouldn't know. I'm not on Facebook. You know, in your local area. Back in my day, when I were a lad, again, sounding like more like my dad every day. But what you used to do was you used to put a postcard on the notice board in your local music shop, and wait for responses. Go and check out some open mic nights. You know, there's bound to be some of those in your locality because they're everywhere. Just do a bit of what trendy metropolitan types refer to as networking. You know, go and meet people, go and kind of turn up at. I mean, I got into one particular band because I went to see them play, and I really enjoyed them. And I said, any chance I could come along and jam with you sometime? And they said, yeah, sure, bring your guitar. We've got a residency here. So I turned up the next week with my guitar and, you know, jammed with them, did it for a few weeks on the trot. And then basically I didn't get offered a gig in that band, but it did kind of lead on to other things. So just put yourself out there, you know, in person and on social media, and something will come of it. Let's have a look. What we got? Rent a Killer saying, I like Peter Kay, but for me it's Chubby Brown. Yes, indeed. You got to love a bit of Chubby, don't you? Timbo is saying, reverse headstocks. Now you're talking. Jackson JDR 94. Sexy as fook. My Warlock and Gunslinger both have reverse headstocks. They look just so metal. Yeah, well, fair enough. I mean, it is a visual adjustment if you're not used to seeing an upside down headstock on a guitar, but it didn't offend me to play that guitar that I had with a reverse headstock. It didn't offend me as much as like a Dean headstock does. Anyway, chaps, I'm getting hungry, and there's a curry downstairs waiting for me. So we're coming up to the witching hour. I'm going to wrap things up there. Thank you once again, each and every one of you, 179 at current count, for turning up and watching a fat, bald northern lad talk absolute cobblers for an hour. And I'll keep on doing it till you're sick of me. But until then, until next time, rather, time, gentlemen, please.